This is the Word to Stand On for Life with Pastor Ron Arbaugh.
Your word is sharper than any two-edged sword, and it cuts deep into my heart.
The Word to Stand On for Life is a radio ministry of Calvary Chapel in San Antonio. A live call-in show here to help you answer your questions about the Bible and how to apply the Word to your daily life. For more information on Calvary Chapel, visit our website, calvarysa.com. Get your Bible questions ready and call in now to 210-340-9585. It's The Word to Stand On for Life with Pastor Ron Arbaugh.
The program. Thanks for tuning in. It's Thursday. You know that means it's the date day edition of The Word to Stand On for Life. I'm Pastor Ron Arbaugh from Calvary Chapel in San Antonio, Texas, and this is a program dedicated to taking your phone calls and answering your questions, Bible questions, life questions. Today, Paul is in studio, so you can ask her science questions, physics questions if you want. Whatever's on your heart, you need only to dial 210-340-9585. If you're outside the local San Antonio area, you can call toll-free at 877-630-KSLR. That's 630-5757. You can email questions to us by emailing questions at calvarysa.com, or you can use our Calvary Chapel of San Antonio mobile app. And as always, if you are driving in your car, the safest way to call is to use the free KSLR mobile app. Just hit the Call Now banner at the top of the screen. You'll be connected directly to our studio producer. Paula, thanks for being here.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for hanging out with me.
Yes, sir.
We're a little tense today.
A little tense. Where it's hard being grandparents. I was going to say far away from where our granddaughter is playing on ESPN Plus, the NCAA Division II women's volleyball. But it's just hard watching her. But not being there is fine because it's 13 degrees where they are right now. So I'm doing really, really well. But yeah, it's nerve-wracking because they're in the fourth set right now, and it's time for us to do this radio show.
Yeah, they got beat pretty good in the first two sets, but
especially
they came back and won the third set. They're ahead in the fourth set, so we're rooting for a five-setter.
Yes, yeah, please. Yeah.
And this is our older granddaughter, our oldest granddaughter of our grandkids, and they're in the Elite Eight. So if they win today, then they would go to the Final Four. Yeah, and it's pretty exciting. So we get to watch her on ESPN. She's doing well.
She's doing really well. Yeah, but I'm a nervous wreck. I got a little bit of a headache going. Hit the ball. Get it, Asia. Come on.
A minute ago, you said, I'm hot. And I said, you played 3 sets of volleyball already.
Oh, my goodness. I'm worn out. But, it's good to be here. And, the Lord has given us grandkids and kids. And so it's a happy life.
Yeah, we actually got to see our son and daughter-in-law and our granddaughter from Minnesota who drove to Sioux Falls, South Dakota to watch her play. Yeah. And we got to see them on TV a couple of times, too. So
There they are.
Yeah.
But anyway, so today is Thursday date day. Thank you, and our basketball team plays tonight, too, so I'm going to go to that game. So I'm going to have a really bad headache all day. Come on, team. I'm a rooter.
Yeah, we won our basketball game the other night. The kids played really, really well, and they played really, really hard. It was great.
Yeah, it's just a fun time. So I was looking at Romans chapter 4 that you did, and you started off. You've taught this before, and you looked right at me one time and you said, "Funny, you don't look Jewish."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, where's he going with this? But Abraham, the father of faith, and we're all
chips off the old block.
Chips off the old block. Yeah.
Or at least we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I am Jewish, and I'm everything. We have everything in our church, and I'm Mama Paula, so I guess I am Jewish. But yes, I am saved and walking under the same faith as Father Abraham. I'm not just, about his faith. I'm in that faith. And so when people will say something, like when I first got here and Vanessa says, what do you have to be so happy about? And I said, well, I'm going to heaven, though I don't deserve it. And it's really good to know that, especially in difficult times, to know for sure. I am definitely in the faith. And God has set this lonely woman, I used to be a little girl, but set this lonely little girl into his family. And now I've grown up, and I get to invite others into this family.
Now, maybe it's because we just were watching our granddaughter.
I know. Come on, please.
But think about this for a minute. Abraham is our grandfather, and he's probably as proud of us as we are of Asia, because we're following in his footsteps. It's amazing to me in the study this past Sunday. It says in verse 19 of Romans 4, without weakening in his faith, he faced the fact that his body was as good as dead since he was about 100 years old, and that Sarah's womb was also dead. And this is the key, yet he did not waver through unbelief regarding the promise of God, but was strengthened in his faith and gave glory to God, being fully persuaded that God had the power to do what he had promised. If one of the things we understand about faith, and there's so much bad teaching about faith out there, Paula, but we understand faith doesn't deny reality. If something's hard, if something is overwhelming, you face the fact. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. It's impossible for a 100-year-old man to have a child. Sarah was 90 when she gave birth. Can you imagine being in that delivery room?
No.
And she had been barren and unable to bear a child. And yet Abraham, it says, did not waver through unbelief. Now, we know he messed up a couple of times, that the whole Hagar incident, but he didn't waver. He knew God could do it because he had to consider the other possibility that God is lying.
Yeah.
And he looked at two impossible situations, old man and woman having a baby, nah, not going to happen, or God lying. Well, that's way not going to happen.
Yeah.
So he just took the best choice. Well, God cannot lie, so I'm going to have a baby.
Yeah.
I like that.
I know. Back in the day, people were living 969 years was the oldest man. So 100 probably didn't look like 100 looks now. I'm thinking maybe 100 back then only looked like 20, 25.
Well, we know that when she was 75, she was still beautiful because the other kings wanted to take her. So you're right about that. But being barren and being old, we also know that Abraham had kids after she died. So people live longer and they're more vibrant. But still, the impossibility of them having a child was almost too much to believe. Yet he believed only for one reason: God said.
God said it. Yeah.
That's why we're told in Genesis 15 that he believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. I make a big deal about this at church, but he didn't believe in God; he believed him.
I know that's been ringing in my head a lot.
Yeah.
Because Isaiah 54 is my life chapter,
Sure.
And so of late, and then because Sarah was barren, we kind of have a few things in common. Not as far as I had children early. But single barren woman, for the longest time, neither one of our kids were saved. And, I'm still praying for both of them, tell you the truth, because not much really obvious, But single barren woman, you who never bore a child, burst into song, shout for joy, you who are never in labor, because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, says the Lord. And like I'm saying, I'm Mama Paula. I'm Grandma Paula. I'm great grandma. He has borne me so many kids that even when we go to restaurants now, and they probably call other people Mama too, but where we go, they know my real name, and they still want to call me Mama. And so I'm thrilled with this. But anyway, of late, the Lord's been reminding me of Isaiah 54. Enlarge the place of your tent, stretch your tent curtains wide, do not hold back, lengthen your cords, and strengthen your stakes. For you will spread out to the right and to the left. Your descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. Well, he has been telling me, hands down, heart open, of course, but for more people than I can fathom. And the way Calvary Chapel San Antonio is growing, and people are coming in, because they listen to this radio program, they watch online, they're coming in, and I'm meeting them, and they've already called me Mama Paula. But just to be...
See, God said it.
God said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sing, O barren woman.
Sing, O barren woman, yeah. And he said, you will spread out to the right and to the left. And, we've been telling people for a long time, we don't have room enough at our church, but, you tell them all the time, tell me all the time. They don't listen, and that's a really good thing. Everybody's welcome here. But we will spread out to the right and to the left, and the descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. And so now, over all of these years, we've had so many people come, and then the military takes some away, jobs take others away, families who, maybe some of their kids have to go to where their parents or grandparents are and help take care of them. Well, they're taking what they learned here other places. And we get a lot of calls or texts, or some of them like, they don't have a Calvary Chapel like our home church, Calvary Chapel. And we say, so you take it there.
So be that, yeah.
Be that there. This is Mama and Pastor Ron, Papa Ron, telling you, go do that over there.
I just got an email from a dear man and woman that we've been praying. They came to our church for many, many years, but they moved to West Virginia. And they're in contact with somebody else from our church who is now thinking about going to West Virginia. Oh. And he said to me, Papa Ron, he said, just think about it. You could have 2 Calvary Chapel San Antonio people in West Virginia. We could do another Calvary Chapel. I said, I don't want more people going to West Virginia. But that's the idea that you're communicating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the Lord has been just kind of encouraging me quite a bit. So it goes on to say, do not be afraid. You will not suffer shame. Do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. You will forget the shame of your youth and remember no more the reproach of your widowhood. Why? For my Maker is my husband. The Lord Almighty is his name. The Holy One of Israel is my Redeemer. He is called the God of all the earth. Now, I know this is not necessarily to Paula. This is about his people. But I take it very personally. So I think that's okay. And because of my testimony, that he gave me this before you were saved. But he said, the Lord will call you back as if you were a wife deserted and distressed in spirit, a wife who married young only to be rejected, says your God. And I used to cry out, Lord, why is this happening? Why are you letting this happen to me? And he said, well, for a brief moment I abandoned you, but with deep compassion I will bring you back. And with deep compassion, I'm back. In the arms of the one who's always loved me. That's what he said. I love you, always have and always will. So.
Paula, before you go on, we should have mentioned at the top of the program our Christmas dinner coming up Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's right. I just remembered that on, I don't know what day it was.
I got to make a turkey.
Yeah. Somebody texted me and said, oh, I forgot to sign up Sunday, but I want to bring something to the thing. Can you please sign me up? And I said, sure. And then I thought, sure, I better get myself to the H-E-B and get a turkey because the dinner's coming up and they're frozen. I've been having to put cold water on my turkey to get the thing defrosted. But yeah, so yes, it's at 3:30, 3 or 3:30. You think we would
3 o'clock?
3 o'clock, okay. And
oh, she's coughing. So, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Let me give you an update. It's set point for Asia's team.
Oh my goodness!
In the 4th set.
Oh, we're trying to.
But it's 24-23. So
I'm trying to do this radio program, Pastor Ron. You distracted me, sir. But the Christmas dinner is at Shirts Civic Center. 3 o'clock this coming Sunday. It's a potluck, but if you're just hearing this for the first time, You don't have to bring anything, but there'll be plenty of food. But please bring your family and friends, and be ready to hear about Jesus if you're not a Christian already. But
and bring people that aren't saved.
But bring people who aren't saved so that they could see the love of God in action and get something to eat.
Yeah, and there'll be 1,500 or so people there. I mean, it's we don't look like we have that many people because of our small facility, but we have lots of people, and that's always a good time where people can meet. So, are you new to the church? No, I've been coming for 13 years. So
yeah, first and third service hardly ever see each other. Second, they see everybody. But you had a question from somebody that said, "You got all these pastors. You got for the size of your church." But I was just thinking, she doesn't know because she only came for one service. We really actually have about 7 or 8 services here. Then we only come to one. We can only get so many in this room at a time. And so, 3 services Sunday, Monday night study, Wednesday night study, Friday night study, and then the kids on Sunday, second service, we can't fit them in, so they have to go over to Mr. Gaddy's Pizza and have their church. So it's a lot of people, and it's single barren woman, you who never bore a child, burst into song, shout for joy. I got a lot of kids. It's awesome.
Okay, let me give you an urgent update.
Oh, my goodness, please.
We won the 4 sets, so it's 2 sets to 2 sets going into the tiebreaker in the 5th set.
All right. Okay. Good night, y'all. I have to go watch the rest of them. Then I got to get myself ready for my basketball game. It's so fun that we have a...
That's a grandparent privilege. We can do 2 things at once.
Yeah. But, to be... I mean, God has given us this family. This is our first year having a basketball team. How sweet is that? Little tacky church, right? In the strip mall. And God has brought very single barren women, these people, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. And our church is very generous, for our basketball team. Somebody got them the uniform. Somebody else, I think, got them shoes. They look good, Ron. For this little tacky church, they walk in, and we've gone to some of the kids.
Got their warm-ups and everything?
Got their warm-ups, yeah. We've gone into other schools, They have like a little band, cheerleaders and stuff. But I don't know. Our colors are pretty good, pretty impressive. We don't have all that, but we look good going in.
Hey, we're the archangels.
We're the archangels, that's right. And you know what I really like is before the games start, both teams get in a big circle, and they pray. And they pray. They make sure to bring Jesus in to make sure. Thank you, Lord, for the abilities that we have, that it's fun. We have, make sure we rightly represent you, and that nobody gets hurt. I mean, just they pray. They prayed for Vanessa, who's the coach's wife. She's the one that organized this whole team thing, and she's struggling with cancer now. And the other teams pray for Vanessa too. And I mean, it's just a real nice atmosphere. But we still want to win.
Yeah, and we would ask everybody to pray for Vanessa. Coach Mike, his name is Coach Mike Marvel. With the coach's name like Mike Marvel, you got to be a good team.
Yeah, you got to be a good team.
But his wife is suffering, and Vanessa is the very first employee we ever had here at Calvary Chapel. She's been with us the whole time, and it is painful to watch her dealing with this, but she's doing it like a champ. She's so close with the Lord, and but we would ask everybody to pray for Vanessa Marvel and Mike, the husbands, the spouses of the cancer victims always go through it with them, and it's really, really hard. And she was able to go to the game on Tuesday. So it always depends how she feels after her treatments and things. But it's just an urgent prayer need for us. She also has been the chief organizer of our Christmas dinner for all these years. So she said to farm that out to other people this year.
Like her sister Sandra. Yeah, you can do it. So please come. You will not be sorry, and you'll get to meet some of just the best people in the world. You will get to meet. And this is another thing. Somebody asked, is it formal? Is it semi-formal? It's just what you got. You can come in any dressed any way you want to.
At Calvary Chapel, when it's cold, we don't care how you look. Just be warm.
True. If it's going to rain, don't wear suede shoes.
Yeah. Since we don't get out of here till almost 2 o'clock after third service on Sunday, we'll just come in the clothes that we wore to church.
Yeah.
But you can come any way that you have. Your kids are welcome. There'll be 1 billion kids there.
Yeah.
And it's just a really, really neat time. The Church Civic Center is a really nice place. And I think we've had it there a bunch of years in a row now, and they're always very accommodating. And the only irritating thing about it is standing in line for the food, but it goes pretty quickly.
It does, yeah.
The people that are serving are such a blessing. So that's coming up on Sunday at 3 o'clock, and radio audience, you're invited as well.
Yeah.
And if you get there, just ask somebody, where's Pastor Ron and Mama Paula, and we'd love to meet you.
Yeah.
Give you a hug.
Yeah.
Okay, what's on your heart, Paul?
Well, I was just thinking, they're talking about making this a podcast.
Oh, you're going to go there.
TV, that's a TV thing. Oh, my goodness, I don't know. Anyway, you could say, funny you don't look Jewish, and then show our faces, because we're not. But yeah, when I was talking to Anderson, and Anderson is our youngest grandson, a couple of summers ago, and he was asking me, so does God know who I'm going to be, what I'm going to be? And you said in the study on Sunday, God knows my future. God knows my future. And I was able to say to him, yeah, God knows everything. He knows the numbers of the hairs on your head, and he knows what you're going to be, where you're going to be. And so, yeah, God knows your future. I wonder sometimes, Ron, you were saying, was it last night? Yeah, last night. Because about Manasseh being such a horrible, horrible kid, because, the best Christians can raise their kids, even twins, just siblings. You can raise your family to love God because they're watching your example, but that they still have to make that choice.
Yeah.
You can do the best job ever, but your kids still have to make that choice. And that when they leave your home, you always say this, if they don't follow Jesus, make sure it wasn't your fault. To think God already knows the future of your kids. God knew that when Hezekiah prayed, Lord, give me 15 more years, that Manasseh was going to be born, and he would be the worst king after Hezekiah being one of the great kings.
It's just it's ironic, the best king Israel had, except for David, has the worst king, the worst kid.
Yeah.
He takes over at 12 years of age.
That's just so
He's
weird.
Surrounded by sinful men, and in the process of growing up, he was introduced to sex way, way, way too early. The best king's son, Solomon, wrote, do not awaken desire until it's time. And this kid's desire was awakened, surrounded with all kinds of wickedness, and the result was the worst king in Israel's history. I have a man in the church. He said, Pastor Ron, he says, it seems like kind of a crapshoot, Some of the godliest men I know had kids that just went crazy and went way off. And so how do you guarantee? And I said, there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee.
Every child has to make his own choice, his or her own choice. Yeah. And all we can do is, I used Proverbs 22 last night, train up a child in the way he should go, and in the end he will not depart. And that was true for Manasseh. In the end he came back. Doesn't mean they're not going to take detours or make wrong turns.
Yeah.
But the reality is that there's no promise that a godly man and woman are going to raise godly children. But it's the man and the woman's responsibility to show them the right way.
Yeah.
And then pray for them, set an example in your own life of being consistent. And if you do that, God's going to keep chasing them on our behalf.
I love that. We'll probably can talk more about it on the second half of the program. But you were very encouraging for parents or anybody who has somebody who's gone off the rails so bad. They should know better. That's what we say to our kids. I'll raise you better than this. You should know better. Why are you acting like this? What's going on with you? And the kids are just farther and farther and farther and farther away. And yet, when he got really in trouble, the Lord had been chasing him all this time. Maybe not so much chasing him, but maybe putting his foot out and tripping him, like on the street in Upland, California. And they finally got to the end of themselves.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about in the second half of the program. In his distress.
Yeah.
Great words.
In his distress.
Best day of his life, even though he didn't know it.
That's right.
Hey, we've got 30 minutes left in the Date Day edition of The Word to Stand On for Life. Phones are quiet. We'd love your comments or questions. 210-340-9585. This is The Word to Stand On for Life. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to the Word to Stand On for Life. We're taking your calls at 340-9585 or toll-free 877-630-KSLR. Now, here's Pastor Ron Arbaugh.
Welcome back to the second half of the Date Day edition of the Word to Stand On for Life. 210-340-9585 for your live calls and questions. If you're outside the local San Antonio area, you can call toll-free at 877-630-KSLR. You know, Paula, the Bible study last night, we marvel at this kind of a turnaround. I said in the study last night, I used some of the most notorious, this is like Adolf Hitler getting saved or Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody getting saved. I know most of the world looks at people like this, well, they're never going to be saved. I don't want them in heaven. They don't deserve to be there. We think we deserve to be there. Well, Manasseh, the worst king in Israel's history, the best day of his life was when he was captured. And the Bible says in the story that the Assyrians came and led them to Babylon with hooks in their noses. Mm-hmm. And that's an ancient way of humiliating your enemy. Mm-hmm. And they would literally pull them with hooks in a line like fish on line with hooks in their nose. So they had to, and they would bring them in naked. It was just an embarrassing thing, a triumph for the victorious king. And that's what it said in his distress. Now, as hard as this is to understand, it was the best day of Manasseh's life. Mm-hmm. Because he finally was hurting enough to cry out to God, the God that his father raised him to know. Mm-hmm. He had a foundation to go to. He had the Word of God. And in his distress, he finally got low enough that he had no one to turn to but God, and it said God was moved by his humility. He prayed with great repentance, and God was moved, and we're going to see Manasseh in heaven.
In heaven, yeah.
And the reason that is, I hope, encouraging to parents, especially those with prodigals. The reality is that prodigals, if you raise them up in the way they go, when they get desperate, they have some place to turn.
Yeah, it's one of those where the parents are praying, or it may not just be parents, just a loved one, whatever it takes. You know, you said last night it's easier to lead someone astray than it is to lead them to Christ.
Yeah, because of our sin nature, astray looks good to us.
Yeah. Hey, you want to go have a drink after work? Hey, you want to go smoke? You want to, rob somebody's house when they're not home? We can get all their stuff. Let's do it. It's easier to lead somebody astray than to lead them to Christ. No, you lead them to Christ. It's like, you need to deny yourself.
Yeah, it's like teasing a dog with a piece of raw meat. We like sin, we like temptation, and so leading people astray, as Manasseh was guilty of leading people astray.
Big time.
But again, that one moment where he was so desperate, life was so harsh, there was no hope, and God rescued him. Yeah. And God rescued him and saved him, and the result is of course, he's going to be in heaven. Can't wait to see him and meet him and talk to him. But amazing. We'll come back to this in a moment. We got Reuben hanging on line one. Reuben, thanks for calling. You're on the air.
God bless you to my two most favorite people in the world, literally.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mama Paula, how are you doing?
I'm doing really okay. I'm doing good.
Good. Enjoying the weather?
Well, let's not go too far. But I tell you what, I am not. It hasn't been that bad for me. Some of the sweet people in our church gave me a Black Rifle Coffee jacket,
a winter coat,
A winter coat,
yeah.
Oh my goodness, that thing! I can go outside in 40 degrees and I'm okay. So I'm changing. I'm good.
That's great. That's great. I wanted to just say a little quick thing, and then I have a question. Can you think in heaven, Pastor Ron, are we going to have a chance to like go to Manasseh, find him, and talk to him and say, hey, how did you feel when God showed up, man? I mean, wouldn't that be just so awesome if we could just sit there and listen to the elders? I would call them elders because, of what they went through and everything. That would be so awesome.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of that too, right before you called, because I was thinking when he got to the end of himself in his great distress, did he say, God, all that I've done, would you even consider taking me back? Right?
Yeah.
Is there even a possibility after all I've done?
Yeah.
Like, Ruben, I think there's going to be a sort of a metaphorical fist fight in heaven. Paul says, I'm the worst of all sinners, the chief of sinners. And Manasseh's going to say, are you kidding? Mm-hmm. You have nothing on me. And I just think there's going to be a bunch of us who say, no, that's okay. We have a guy in our church, a dear, dear young man in the Lord. His name is AJ. And I love him with all my heart. And he loves me so I can tease him. But I tell the church all the time that I'm the worst person in this church, unless AJ's here in the room right now. But see, that's God's power to save from the depths of depravity. And we all have our stories, Ruben. I'm sure you've been perfect your whole life, but most of us haven't.
Oh, yeah, by far, yes. I've never, ever done anything. Praise God.
Now you're guilty of lying. Watch out for that lightning bolt coming.
Lord, forgive me. And the question, I had a question really quick. I don't know if you spoke on it Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, but what's going on in Damascus and Syria right now? I see and I hear these other preachers talking about these are signs of the end of times and get ready because, at any time we could just go in the rapture and all this. But is what going on right now? I can't even talk. Is what is going on in Damascus right now? I'm so happy about going to heaven. That does it have any ramifications? Not ramifications, but anything oh my God! Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do, Ruben. And I addressed this at the top of the program. You probably weren't listening yet early in the week. But the key to Syria and what's going on there right now is the city of Damascus. Isaiah chapter 17 says that Damascus is going to be turned into a heap of ruins in sort of overnight fashion, or very suddenly. And so what we see going on now is at least in my view, setting the table for that, but it's not happened yet. So we're not there yet, but we're getting really, really close. And when Assad was deposed, he went to Russia to seek asylum, and when he did that, it just, I think, setting the stage for the world to turn on Syria, and just keep your eyes focused on Damascus. But all of these things that are happening, I believe with all of my heart, are just setting the table. It's sort of like when I was a little kid, my mom used to say, be in by the time the street lights go on, and I knew dinner was ready. Well, I think right now we're waiting for those spiritual street lights to go on, because it looks to me like the world is taking its place for the very end. And I think that could happen at any time. And right in the middle of all of that, when we see Syria, in fact, I think several months ago on this program, somebody was asking me what the key is. And I said, Syria, watch the city of Damascus. When we see that happening, look up, because our redemption draws nigh. Does that help, Reuben?
Okay. Yes, it does. God bless you too, and I'll see you on Sunday.
Thank you very, very much. Good,
Okay.
good for you.
Yes. All right. God bless you. Bye.
Okay. Well, Paula, we're doing this program, but we got one eye on.
I know.
Our team is on set point. They didn't get it yet, but they're on the verge of winning in 5 sets, which would be a reverse sweep. They lost the first 2 sets, and now they're on the verge of winning the third one. So I know God doesn't really care who wins this game, but we do.
We do. Yeah, we do a lot.
Okay, so Paula.
You're talking about his distress. God puts us in the exact place we need to be in order to make it easier to find him. And so, that was true love that the Lord allowed, because he revived the Assyrians that the Lord had already defeated for them, but he revived the Assyrians to come back and take him captive, basically. So you think sometimes, God says, okay, you didn't listen, so now I got to do something real hard. So here we go. So, but anyway, what I want to do is just encourage anybody who's out there who might have or might be involved in something so bad that that they don't think they can come back.
We won.
Yes. That think that it's so bad that they can't come back, that they can't, see the arms of Christ reaching out to them in their distress. He's always saying, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And that's exactly what Manasseh needed, and he got when he genuinely repented of the life that he had lived, and he went back and made it right with the people that he had led astray as well, those that were still alive. And
you know what I loved about Manasseh's story, Paul? After he did that, he was so zealous to undo the damage he had done. He rebuilt all the stuff that he tore down, and built the wall higher. And the key is he was a changed man.
Yeah.
A completely changed man. And because he was, that's one of the ways that we know for sure that he is going to be in heaven with us. He was a changed man, not because of his works, but because in his distress he cried out. And the encouragement, as you indicated a moment ago, for those of us with prodigals, and they're adult prodigals. Manasseh, I said in the study last night, was sort of the OG adult prodigal, and he came running back after lots of pain. He caused a lot of death, a lot of misery, and yet even that wasn't too much for God to forgive. And it was almost like God was chasing him the whole time. I said when I was running away from the Lord, I didn't realize this until I got saved, but it didn't matter how fast I ran. God was faster.
He was already where you going to be when you got there.
That's exactly right. So for him, for Manasseh, just think of the worst person you've ever met, and he got saved.
Yeah.
An amazing thing.
Amazing thing. Wonder how, just... He told us to remember, repent, and return. That's all God's asking. That's all he's asking. Remember how good I've been to you. Return. Come back. Yeah. Anyway, do what you did at first. Even those of us who are walking with the Lord, not really, doing stuff so bad, but we can get a little lackadaisical. We can get a little complacent, Do I have to go to church again, kind of a thing? Or it's not so important, I don't want to get there this early. We got to sing those worship songs, Let's go, it's my day, those kind of things. Even as believers, we can kind of get to the place of taking the Lord and his goodness for granted. And I don't want to ever do that.
Can I talk about one other thing, Paula, on this issue with Manasseh's life? Because I mentioned it last night, and I think it's important for us. The devil used sexuality to turn him into this path of wickedness. Yeah. And I mentioned this before. Solomon says, "Do not awaken desire before it's time." Well, one of the problems in our culture is that our children are being awakened to their sexuality before they're emotionally or spiritually ready.
5
for
years
it.
old.
You know, their bodies may be ready, but emotionally, spiritually, they're not ready. And sexual sin is so evil; it gives Satan a stronghold. And yet, what's happened is we've been convinced that sexual sin really isn't all that bad.
I remember hearing, "Well, boys will be boys." You know, boys will be boys.
You know what? We've got kids, Paula, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, who are finding pornography because their parents are giving them phones.
Yeah.
And you know, I see inside the same family, I'll see an overreaction from the mother. This is terrible. My son's life is ruined. And then the reaction from the father, say, hey, boys will be boys. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal.
It is.
It's a huge deal. And yet we're the ones, as parents, we're the ones providing the devil the access to destroy our children. It's all because we give them those stupid little computers and we think, well, my son or my daughter's not going to lie to me. They are going to lie to you. Mm-hmm. And they've got technology down way better than you do. And they're going to be able to hide what they're seeing. And even if you were to take the phone from them, they're going to have friends who are going to give them access.
Yeah.
So we've got to be diligent and good stewards over our kids' wanderings. And we just don't do it because we think, well, what's the point? I can't do anything. And I got it for everybody in this audience. If you're giving your children access to a phone, and they can access that phone without you sitting in the same room with them, you're giving the enemy the weapon he needs to destroy your child. And, you know, this whole idea, well, my son or my daughter needs their privacy. No, they don't. They need a parent who's going to be diligent, take a stand with and for Jesus Christ in their life. They may not like you, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. We need to be parents rather than friends. And I'll get off my soapbox. You look like you have something to say.
No.
See, there's a line, verse 10 in the Bible study last night.
Yep.
It says, God sent the prophets and warned them time and time again, Manasseh and the people.
Yeah.
And then what's the line?
But they did not pay attention, or they did not listen.
Yet they paid no attention.
They paid no attention.
And that is a pastor's nightmare because people just don't pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I tell people, don't date an unbeliever. Don't get emotionally involved with an unbeliever. And they don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Watch your children. Don't let them have access to a phone. They don't pay attention. And then we deal with all of these problems, and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, Mom, Dad, don't be the needy ones.
Yeah.
They don't pay attention.
Yeah.
And then the kids are running around trying to find somebody to pay attention to them, no matter what group it is or what it's about. So please don't be like that.
Okay,
Don't.
I told you I'd get off my step.
Yeah, now you got me
I
on
got
the-
right back on it. So let me take a deep breath. Announce to the audience that Asia's team won in 5 sets.
Yeah.
So we're okay. Now we can focus on this. Go ahead.
A little bit, right? Oh, man. So, you know, I'm trying to memorize all the kids' names in our school. It's not easy because there's a lot of kids, and I'm not as young as I used to be. But what a blessing it is when I come up here and I have taken some time, because to know somebody's name is so important. Yeah. And the Lord put that on, and Sing, O Barren Woman was kind of more of the children of the desolate woman. Well, these are my kids, you know. And so, who's your mom, kind of a thing. But I'm starting to see mom or dad's face in these kids. But to know their names, and they just kind of light up, you know, because they know my name, Mama Paula, you know. But I don't know all of their names, but I'm learning them. And today, when I came up here, I was going through, there's one whole class that was out there, and this one boy's name, he just doesn't, to me, look like his name. And, you know, me in the past, I would say, well, this is what your name should be, because this is what you look like to me. But I remembered his name, and he's kind of a shyer person, or has his head down a lot. And when I called his name, he just looked up. And I was like, Lord, you're so good to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm learning how important that is because I can't see.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have kids that are running past me and saying hi all the time. And they can get 10 feet away and I can't see who they are. And it's really, really painful. So I'm so grateful that God put that on your heart to do, because at least one of us is letting them know how important they are.
And I'll apologize right here on the radio in front of all the listeners, because sometimes I forget that Pastor Ron can't see, and he'll say, "Who's that?" And I'll say, "It's so-and-so," just like that. "You know them?" He says, "I can't see. Remember, I can't see." "Oh, that's right." Especially if it's like some of the families, they have 3 or 4 kids, and they all look the same. That even in the pictures, I'm having a hard time discerning, because some of them kind of look like twins. Like there's a Nash and a Nathan. Come on. And they're just super handsome. But if they're not standing next to each other, I don't know who's who. So, so I get it, Pastor Ron. I'm going to try to be better. Pray. You all pray for me out there. I'll be a better wife to this not-seeing guy.
I mentioned that this past Sunday. We're inside 5 minutes,
okay.
Paul, but I mentioned this last Sunday in the funny "you don't look Jewish" coming. We're chips off the old block. We want to look just like Abraham in terms of our faith. Mm-hmm. And I used the example. I said, we've got some parents here, and they keep having kids that look exactly like them.
I'm telling you.
AJ that I talked about earlier, his kids look just like him. Mm-hmm. Ariana's a carrier.
Yeah.
They all look just like him. and as they grow up a little bit and they get to that age where it's hard to tell them apart, it's really hard. Mm-hmm. AJ's boy.
AJ. Oh my goodness.
But we got a lot of kids that look just like mom and dad.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, Ron? When we wanted the cool kids to be the saved kids, or the saved kids to be the cool kids, they are. Even, competitively. We're sitting at the game the other night, and one of the boys, he can dunk. But the team, they were kind of beating the team a little easy, And I think he was kind of holding himself back. And, his brother and Pastor Ron were trying to
dunk
the ball, man. And he was trying to be nice to the other team. But you could just see, the saved kids are the cool kids.
He is one of the sweetest kids. Would never want to embarrass anybody.
Yeah.
But we're in the stand yelling, "Dunk it!"
Yeah, like hit the ball. So, you had one question. I know you had one question this week. You answer all of them great, but I've had this question before too. How can I know if my faith is head faith or heart faith? And that's not on everything, but on certain things. It's like, man, do I really believe that? I hear my own teaching sometimes, and I hear myself talking. And you said, are you changed? That's the key. Are you changed? And then the Galatians 5 list, and then the Titus 2:11 list, the fruits of the Spirit, and then walking in the Spirit, where the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness. Am I
you
walking?
You forgot the lesson, and to live self-controlled, upright lives in this present age.
While we wait for the blessed hope. Yes. And so I was glad to hear that question, because there are times when I'm thinking, is that just me? Am I just in my head, or is that really the Lord? And so this week I've been kind of thinking about a few things. So one of the first ones was, Jesus telling me, "I love you, I always have, always will." And second was, when you came to the door, "This is the one for life." Was that in my head, or was that in my heart? Was that in my head, or was that in my heart? So
now
far,
you got 54 years of evidence to make a decision.
So it's in my head and my heart, But to think. And I want to thank you too, because I have learned over these many years, not just coming to church, but living at the house, that sometimes it's in my head because I know what to do. Because I remember the Lord saying, I don't need, your heart right now, but it'll get to your heart eventually. If you'll just do the right thing, like you tell us, you have enemies or hard things, pray, because the Lord will change your heart. Because there's a lot of things that I might get in my head, and I don't want to do it. but because I love Jesus, like Peter, Jesus, you're the fisherman. I mean, Jesus, I'm the fisherman, you're the preacher. But because you say so,
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. And so a lot of times what's the right thing to do is in my head, though it's not in my heart. But if I know that it's the right thing, I'll do it. And then it gets to my heart. So that's where that heart and head thing was kind of...
Yeah, obedience and motive is really important. But if you're obedient, even with the wrong motive, God will bring your heart to the place it needs to be.
Okay.
And that's the key. If your faith is genuine, you're different than you used to be, like Manasseh, good example.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, we are at the end of the program. Thanks for putting up with our distraction today with Asia's volleyball game. You've been listening to The Word to Stand Up for Life. I'm Pastor Ron Arbaugh from Calvary Chapel in San Antonio, Texas. And I'll be back tomorrow, Lord willing, on AM 630 The Word. We'll see you then.
Thanks for spending this time with Calvary Chapel's The Word to Stand On for Life with Pastor Ron Arbaugh. The Word to Stand On for Life is on every weekday afternoon at 4, and Pastor Ron invites you to find out more about Calvary Chapel at calvarysa.com. The Word to Stand On for Life was sponsored by Calvary Chapel of San Antonio.